Hello everyone! Welcome to our video series on bringing formative assessment to life in Edmonton Catholic Schools. As you've seen in our first 3 videos of the series, formative assessment is a cycle in which teaching is responsive and learning is informed, thereby improving the learning of our current students. Formative assessment has 2 components then. Assessment for learning, in which teachers use student learning information to guide their instruction and provide feedback to current students for the purpose of improving learning. And assessment as learning, in which students reflect on their learning, monitor their own progress, and implement the feedback they receive from each other and from their teacher to move their learning forward. These 2 components of formative assessment align with the 5 strategies Dylan Wiliam presents to allow us to help our students in knowing where the learner is going, where the learner is now, and how to get the learner there. The 5 strategies are clarifying and sharing and understanding the learning intentions, eliciting evidence of learning, providing feedback that moves learners forward, activating students as learning resources for one another, and activating students as owners of their own learning. Consider the following questions as you watch. In what ways does the lesson or technique demonstrate one or more of Wiliam's 5 strategies for formative assessment? What features of the learning environment and classroom culture do you think contribute to the success of the lesson? How might you already support students in becoming owners of their own learning in your classroom? And what opportunity do you see for your own classroom practice? Today, we will hear how one teacher uses routine to teach SmartWork and therefore to support and elicit evidence of learning, thereby supporting students in self-monitoring and reflection.
Hello, I'm Kathy Bolton, and I'm the Science Department Head at St. Francis Xavier High School. So I've been starting each of my class days with SmartWork. So it's a routine that my students have gotten used to. They have their own notebook that's dedicated for their SmartWork. I put a couple of prompts up on the board each day that's a review of the key materials from the class before, and they take their own notes. They can use their past class notes, they can use a textbook, they can even look some things up on their phones, but they make their own notes. Every class to write something on their own that they've come up, like put it in their own words, write it out on their own words, read something on their own. That's really authentic learning when they're practicing reading and writing it. And then I can come around and check them kind of formatively, ask them questions, kind of see where they're at, get them to add more detail. It just seems like they're doing more to learn it. I think they can do better on their exams because of it. I like that the SmartWork is part of the routine, so they're used to it, they're ready for it. I like that it's in their own words. I like that it's a little bit different each day. Our kids are kind of programmed to turn off a little bit with worksheets. Sometimes when we do a worksheet in a lab, the impulse is for them to look over at their partner and just copy out, not even thinking what they're writing, just copy it out so it's just completed. Whereas this, they're not doing that. It's more individualized and they are doing their own. If they're not sure how to answer one of the SmartWork questions, they will ask, but they never just copy out exactly what the person beside them has. Well, I told them right off the bat that they had to get a notebook, and I wanted to start the SmartWork that week after the long weekend. At the start, I did show them how I would take notes for this particular thing. We started in an easier unit, so it was things that they had been familiar with already, so I felt like that they could write more about it. And I kind of scaffolded it by showing them how I would do the first few, what I would highlight, what I would put into a chart. I think my students have bought in that they need to put in this work to do well in Bio 20, and I think that they're feeling like, oh, hey, if I complete this work in class, I can do better, studying is easier. I also really like using the little mini rubrics of complete, partial, not at all, and I try to make it really clear what they need to include. Then I can kind of go around and circle what they're missing to get it complete, or make little notes for them. Also, it kind of redirects them. So if they get off task for a few minutes, I can say, what part of this are you working on? They know what they need to complete. I also like to keep not a lot of downtime, so there's enough work for them to kind of do within the class. And often, if we're working on something and students are finishing before the end of the class, then I always say, well, this is a time to make sure that your SmartWork is all complete. Go back into your SmartWork, make sure it's neat, it's highlighted. So that happened quite a bit for the first unit. The SmartWork that I gave them was a little bit shorter than some of the other units. There was a big handful of students that were kind of panicking a day or two before the exam, and I kind of let them panic. So we talked about, okay, 10 minutes a day versus 2-3 hours the night before, and like I graphed the marks versus completeness of SmartWork for that first unit, and there was this big correlation between having it complete on time and those high marks. Every kid that did poorly didn't have it completed in time for the test. The kids that were there, I think they kind of like felt it and saw it, and they saw where they could be. And I talked to each of them too, and there's a self-evaluation, and all the kids that didn't have it wrote, I need to do it each day. I need to be more organized and get it done beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Special thank you to Mrs. Kathy Bolton, a teacher at St. Francis Xavier High School. If you'd like to learn more, we invite you to visit our SharePoint site at bit.ly/assessment ECSD for these and other resources about assessment. If you have specific questions, feel free to reach out to your assessment and reporting consultant at Lumen Christi. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.